For almost 80 years, the world pretty much believed that Hitler's underground bunker was gone for good, sealed up, buried under Berlin, and just erased from history. A final, dark chapter of World War II locked away. But what if it wasn't?
Okay, so let's get right into it, because this is the huge mystery we're unpacking. After all that time, all that silence, what secrets, what truths, what was actually preserved in that toxic, sealed-off time capsule? So the story takes this incredible turn. In 2024, after decades of rumors and literal concrete barriers, a research team is finally given unprecedented access. They're about to break a seal that is held for generations. What are they going to find?
And listen, when we say stunned, that's not just hype. What was actually waiting for them down there went way beyond historical curiosity. It was like a direct, physical confrontation with the final, rotting moments of the Third Reich.
But okay, before we go inside with that modern team, we really need to understand what this place was. This was never just some basement. It was designed to be the final, beating heart of a 1,000-year empire that was literally collapsing in a matter of days.
The thing is, the bunker wasn't built all at once. It really came in two phases. It started back in '36 as a pretty basic air raid shelter, but as the war turned against Germany and Allied bombs started pounding Berlin, Hitler demanded something stronger, deeper, impenetrable. And by the time he moved in for good, in early 1945, it was a full-blown subterranean fortress.
I mean, just look at these specs. It's kind of mind-boggling. We're talking about a structure buried almost 30 feet underground, with reinforced concrete walls over 11 feet thick. It had its own power, its own water, its own air. It was this totally self-contained little world designed to keep functioning even as the world above it was burning to the ground.
And this little anecdote, man, it just perfectly captures Hitler's obsession with his final stronghold. While his armies were collapsing on every single front, his entire focus just narrowed down to the absolute perfection of this concrete tomb. He demanded it be strong enough to survive the apocalypse, and his rage was just explosive if he saw the tiniest flaw.
And this right here, this is the moment the bunker stops being a command center and starts becoming a mystery. With Soviet troops just blocks away, closing in fast, Hitler and his new wife, Eva Braun, committed suicide. They left behind a scene of total chaos and the beginnings of a legend.
Right, so the war ends, but believe it or not, the story of the bunker's just getting started. Why on earth did this one specific location become the subject of so much misinformation, so many conspiracy theories, and a very, very deliberate state-sponsored cover-up?
Well, the second the Soviets took control, everything got murky. The official story was that they found Hitler's remains. But then, Stalin himself starts telling Allied leaders that Hitler actually escaped. The Soviets claimed they cleared every single room, but the bunker's own engineers later swore that certain steel doors were locked and were never ever opened. This huge gap between the official story and all these rumors, it created a vacuum that conspiracy theories rushed to fill for the next 80 years.
And get this whole silence wasn't an accident. It wasn't just neglect. Declassified files actually reveal a specific KGB operation codenamed Bunker Suppression. Its entire job was to control the narrative, grab any artifacts left, and make absolutely sure no independent story about Hitler's final days could ever get out.
Then the cover-up went from paper to concrete. The East German government bulldozed what was left, poured tons of concrete into the entrance, and literally wiped the location off of public maps. They wanted people to forget it was ever there. Officially, the reason was to stop it from becoming a neo-Nazi shrine, but the sheer level of secrecy, it always suggested something more.
And this is the one question that has just hung in the air for decades. If the Soviets really had cleared everything important out, if the story was as simple as they said, then why the years and years of active, aggressive erasure? What were they so afraid the world might still find down there?
All right, so let's jump to 2024. Let's join that research team as they get ready to do what no one has done since the end of the war, enter the sealed sections of the Führer bunker. And you couldn't just walk in. I mean, getting inside was unbelievably dangerous. First, they had to send in a robot to test the air, which of course was toxic and totally unbreathable. Then, after shoring up collapsed tunnels and pumping in fresh air, the first teams could only go in for 15-minute shifts. The environment was just that hazardous.
Team members described it as an immediate assault on the senses, this powerful smell of decay and mold.
moisture just dripping down the concrete walls, and a chilling, unnatural cold. As one of the engineers put it, it felt like a descent into death.
And then they started finding things. Things that had been sitting there in the dark for 79 years. In Hitler's personal quarters, a simple cot with a dried blood stain on it. On the floor of his study, torn maps with his own handwritten, totally delusional counterattack plans. A little stuffed rabbit, faded and stained, believed to belong to one of the Goebbels children. And, maybe most critically, the rotted frame of the couch where he died, its fabric still holding a dark, ominous stain.
But maybe the most chilling find was inside a sealed metal cabinet. They found the last Morse code logs. And the final message sent from the bunker? It wasn't a call for help. It wasn't an escape plan. It was a cold, procedural confirmation, no departure, end procedure confirmed. It was a definitive statement, logged for history, that this was the end. No way out.
And here it is. This is the moment where modern science just blows all those escape conspiracy theories out of the water. Forensic testing on that couch stain revealed high concentrations of cyanide. For the very first time, there was physical, scientific proof that corroborated all those eyewitness accounts of Hitler's suicide. He died. Right there.
So, okay, the physical mystery, that seems to be solved. But this incredible discovery has ripped open a whole new and maybe even more difficult debate. Now that we know for sure what's inside, what in the world do you do with this place of absolute evil?
Analysis of the notes and markings on those maps, it paints this really clear psychological picture of his final days. The vast majority of his energy was poured into this obsessive micromanagement, just clinging to tiny details as his entire world fell apart. But mixed in with that was this growing messianic delusion, with notes comparing Germany's fall to some kind of divine fatalistic event.
And that brings us right to the heart of the dilemma today. On one hand, you've got a really powerful argument to just seal it back up, erase it completely, and prevent it from ever becoming a pilgrimage site for extremists. But on the other hand, historians are arguing that silence is what allowed all the conspiracies to grow in the first place, and that a controlled educational exhibit is the only real way to confront the truth. And I think ultimately, what this whole discovery forces us to confront is a really difficult truth. Burying history, whether you do it under tons of concrete or under a blanket of official silence, it doesn't make it go away. It only allows its lessons to fade and its horrors to get twisted and distorted over time.
And so, we're left with this final, really challenging question. When you uncover a place that is so deeply tied to evil, what is the right thing to do? Do you destroy it to deny it any power, or you preserve it to make damn sure its lessons are never, ever forgotten? The answer is not simple, and it's a question the world now has to figure out.